you can count on us. This is 7 News Good Morning Fort Sill.
Good morning and thanks for joining us. So as we hit the middle of the week, it's our Wednesday edition of Good Morning Fort Sill.
It is midweek. We got a great show today. You know, Michael, yesterday afternoon, I was actually getting ready to head on post to go to the gym, and there was looked like there was a thunderstorm in the area.
Yeah, we had one blow through my house about 10 minutes.
That was during the afternoon, right?
Yeah, it was in the afternoon. Yeah. So now, what are we looking like moving forward this week with reference to weather?
Well, as far as today, we're going to see a repeat of what we saw yesterday with about a 20% chance of isolated shower or storm nearby. So we had that isolated chance happen yesterday. Currently, right now it is 66 at Fort Sill, mostly clear skies out there. And for your PT forecast, will be generally in the mid to upper 60s once again, just like yesterday. And then our temperatures will be going up into the lower to mid 70s as we go to around 8 to 9 a.m. this morning. And then as we look at satellite and radar, we're not seeing any clouds here. We're pretty quiet across the area. A little bit of activity just north of our very near the northern parts of Oklahoma and the southern portions of Kansas. Right now at the as we look at the Jackson County Memorial Hospital Tower Cam, pretty quiet out there, nothing notable to talk about. Yesterday we had a high of 95, which is still above average for this time of year here in Lawton, and elsewhere we had a high of 96 in Frederick, 95 as well in Wichita Falls, 93 in Duncan, 96 in Chickasha, 92 in Elk City, 95 in Altus.
Take a look at our top military stories. The National Guard is on their way to Memphis as part of President Trump's efforts to crack down on crime, but questions linger on what they can and can't do during that occupation.
The National Guard could be used as law enforcement officers. The final decision will come down to Tennessee Governor Bill Lee, who will need to sign an emergency proclamation that establishes the scope of operations the National Guard is allowed to take.
If he does not do so, then they have no more law enforcement powers than you and I have as citizens.
If that proclamation is issued, National Guard members will have the same powers as local and state law enforcement. That means they will be able to detain people who commit crimes in front of them and will hand them off to police.
And President Trump is also considering deploying National Guard troops to St. Louis. The president says the CEO of Union Pacific Railroad asked him to add the city to his list of places to combat crime.
Citizens and leaders in St. Louis say the administration should consult with them before putting boots on the ground.
Would you welcome those federal partners coming in?
I would welcome the federal partners coming in to help lead the effort in demolition and debris removal. Absolutely. That is the highest critical need that will promote safety and well-being within the city of St. Louis.
He can't tell me nothing about my hometown area. I'm from here. Come talk to us about what we want to do to calm it down in St. Louis.
St. Louis Mayor Kara Spencer says violent crime is already down in the city. They are inviting President Trump or the Union Pacific CEO to come to St. Louis to hear from people who actually live there.
Well, just a reminder that the new grab-and-go food kiosk called The Outpost is open for business at Calsu Hall.
Yes, soldiers on post are now able to quickly get meals from the kiosk at any time from morning through evening using either their meal card or cash or credit. Fire Center of Excellence and 75th Field Artillery Brigade leaders were on hand for a ribbon-cutting ceremony last week to celebrate this new flexible meal option for soldiers. Well, Fort Sill MWR has announced the opening act for the Jared Neiman concert later this week. Country artist Blake Henderson will be kicking things off Friday night at 7 o'clock. Henderson hails from Tuttle, Oklahoma, and brings his journey from small town USA to the oil fields to Nashville and to Fort Sill. If you want to attend, you can get your tickets online or at the Patriot Club Friday night.
And just a reminder that the Fort Sill Retiree Appreciation Days kicks off tomorrow morning with an open house. It runs from 8:30 until 2:30 at Reinhardt Fitness Center. Now,
ID card services will be on site along with legal assistance for wills and powers of attorney. Wellness resources include flu shots, dental wellness screenings, TRICARE, and other nutrition information. There will be over 75 service-related vendors at the event who support retirees and their families. For more information, you can contact the Retirement Services offices at one of the numbers on your screen.
And Fort Sill MWR and the Patriot Club are inviting you and your battle buddy to join them for a stable call at the Jack Daniels Lounge tomorrow evening. That event kicks off at 5, runs till about 6:30. It's open to all ranks and all members of the community. There will be free hors d'oeuvres served at the event, but you must be 18 years or older to enter.
The Department of Veteran Affairs and Lawton Indian Health Services are teaming up to host a PACT Act event at the Lawton Farmers Market next week.
So an organization called Your Service, Our Mission, Bring Benefits Home, is helping veterans from across Oklahoma who may have presumptive disabilities covered under the PACT Act and who may be eligible for a VA claim. Advisors will be available and on site to assist veterans in enrolling, as well as provide VHA toxic health screenings.
The event will take place at the Farmers Market next Tuesday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. If you're interested in attending, you're asked to bring a copy of your medical records, DD-214 form, or its equivalent, and any dependent records.
Well, looking at Altus Air Force Base, the 97th Logistics Readiness Squadron on Altus has completed their third quarter standards and readiness review. SRRs are periodic inspections and assessments within the Air Force to foster a culture of discipline, accountability, and professionalism.
The quarterly reviews examine various aspects of a unit's readiness, including professional appearance, adherence to uniform and personal standards, mental and physical health, training, and overall resilience, along with the goal of ensuring units and personnel are prepared for any mission. Switching to your international headlines, Israeli forces continue their advancement into the heart of Gaza City as residents flee to avoid fighting between IDF and Hamas forces.
Over 80 people have been killed so far by Israeli drones and airstrikes, including many women and children, according to a former Israeli military chief who oversaw the first 17 months of the war in Gaza. More than 10% of Gaza's entire population has been killed or injured since the start of that war.
Now, analysts are saying Hamas hostages may no longer be safe.
We know that it's going to cost lives because that's the nature of war. And we know that it's probably going to sacrifice the lives of most, if not all, of the remaining live hostages, which we assume are 20.
Well, I have to see. I mean, I don't know too much about it. I can tell you that if they put the hostages in front of them, Hamas as protection, as what they call them bodyguards, Hamas is going to have hell to pay.
Well, with the Army's tightening of appearance and grooming standards, those who have shaving waivers might find themselves out of a job. We'll talk the details after the break.
This 7 News broadcast is sponsored by Southwest Buick GMC.
This just in, the town of Velma is being evacuated.
Stay connected to the team you trust your way. Get breaking news and investigations here on the 7 News app.
Mark, what are you seeing?
Right now I'm here at 2nd and F.
Instant forecast with real-time alerts here on the First Alert 7 weather app. And stream live on your TV here or watch anytime on your schedule. Download all 3 for free. Stay connected to 7 News wherever you are. Here's your First Alert forecast with meteorologist Michael Amankwa.
And as we look at our temperatures for this morning, it's pretty decent out there, mid to upper 60s and a few lower 70s. Currently 66 in Lawton, 71 in Wichita Falls, 72 in Waurika, 70 in Duncan, 67 in Chickasha. A little bit warmer in our northern counties right now. Currently Anadarko, 74 degrees, 70 in Hobart, 69 in Frederick. Looking at our relative humidity values, well, we have a little bit of a dry air pocket in our southwestern counties in the 60% range, but everywhere else we're pretty much in the between 70 and 90% of relative humidity. Winds are pretty calm right now, but they will be picking up more out of the south today, anywhere between 5 to 15 miles per hour. And now we are still tracking this trough. Models have slowed it down just a little bit, so our rain chances, the best rain chances, instead of being tonight into tomorrow, is more on your Thursday into your Friday. And we'll be watching as this system slowly makes its way towards the Central Plains, giving us at least a decent shot of some scattered showers and thunderstorms as we will be at the tail end of this system as this upper level low continues to push off towards the east. It will be a little bit of a slow mover. It will bring a cold front, but right now models have this cold front stalling out just north of our area, so we may be playing with a few degrees of temperatures. We could be anywhere from the mid to 80s on your Thursday and Friday to the lower 90s, depending on where that front stalls out in the area.
Secretary of War Pete Hegseth recently hosted a pair of U.S. Army Rangers at the Pentagon. They won the 41st annual David E. Grange Jr. Best Ranger competition earlier this year.
So Army Captain Kevin Moore and Captain Griffin Hawkinson from the 75th Ranger Regiment took home the top spot this year. Hegseth said he wanted to invite the soldiers to Washington because they exemplify the warrior ethos.
He went on to say that the best of the best Army Rangers and the best Ranger competition embody the highest level of competition, and that bringing the Rangers to the Pentagon was a way to showcase excellence.
Well, the U.S. Army, or the U.S. military, has been tightening many of its grooming standards, and one of those is the policy on facial hair. In a new memo from Secretary Hegseth, service members who require a medical shaving waiver for more than 1 year will be separated from the military.
And military medical officers previously had authority over medical shaving waivers. Under the new policy, though, they will now have to provide a written recommendation to unit commanders, who will then make the final decision. If a waiver is approved, the service member will be exempt from shaving requirements and begin a medical treatment plan.
So if a medical officer then determines that the waiver is still necessary after 1 year of treatment, the commander must initiate the member's separation from military service.
Okay, so we talked about this a few weeks ago. I think this was our first week doing this show. Is like a lot of folks out there who might have like skin conditions, they're a little bit concerned about this, right?
So they are, and I tell you, there's been a lot of updates to policy recently with reference to grooming standards and in appearance. We talked about, you know, the most recent just general grooming standards came out really a couple days ago, and we talked about it yesterday. Because it's such a hot topic, I do plan to go a little bit more in depth about this in our digital studio later this week. So I'll publish a little bit more on this. The one thing I do want to point out, the regulations have tightened basically to what they previously were a few years ago. But in the memos that I've reviewed, commanders still have the final say on whether they determine, they have a lot of latitude, I guess, whether they determine retaining a soldier or not. So we'll have more on that on a digital, something in our digital studio published online.
Looking forward to that. Well, the iconic characters from Sesame Street are launching a new digital platform or program to support military children and families. Happy, Healthy, Ready offers articles, videos, printable activities, and recipes to help military children and families build habits around nutrition, exercise, and emotional wellness, especially during times of transition and challenges that come with military life.
So the creators of the program say maintaining healthy practices is not always easy for military households, but they hope that the program can assist in making it more achievable. Man, Elmo right there.
Well, today in military history, on September 17th, 1862, in the midst of the Civil War, the Battle of Antietam was fought in Maryland.
So to this day, it's the deadliest one-day battle in American military history. General Robert E. Lee and Major General George McClellan led their troops, some 132,000 of them, into battle, and around almost 23,000 men lost their lives that day. More than 12,000 Union soldiers and over 10,000 Confederate soldiers among the casualties, 6 generals, 3 from each side.
And while the death toll was immense, the outcome of the battle was ultimately undecided. While it was a tactical draw, the battle was enough for President Abraham Lincoln to issue the Emancipation Proclamation, vowing to free slaves in all states just 5 days later on September 22nd. The Antietam battlefield became a national military park in 1890. Still ahead, the University of Hawaii has extended their partnership with the Army to protect natural resources. We'll have that and more in your national military headlines coming up.
This just in, the town of Velma is being evacuated.
Stay connected to the team you trust your way. Get breaking news and investigations here on the 7 News app.
Mark, what are you seeing?
Right now I'm here at 2nd and F.
Instant forecast with real-time alerts here on the First Alert 7 weather app. And stream live on your TV here or watch anytime on your schedule. Download all 3 for free. Stay connected to 7 News wherever you are.
A Missouri man accused of stolen valor and forging official documents is now trying to defend his actions.
So William Clark apparently comes from a long line of military service. His father and several uncles all served. Clark forged a fake DD-214 and fake certificates and bought military coins off of Temu. He attempted to use them to join the American Legion and the VFW, but this isn't the first time he's been convicted over stolen valor.
In 2002, he was arrested here in Oklahoma for falsely identifying himself as an Army captain in charge of recovery operations following a bridge collapse on Interstate 40. He was convicted and he served time in federal prison. Well, the University of Hawaii has signed an agreement with the U.S. Army to continue their partnership to care for the environment. For the last 30 years, the university has worked with the Army to manage natural resources at military installations in the Aloha State.
The agreement formally expands those efforts across Oahu training areas and creates more hands-on opportunities for students.
The significance really is it's taking what has been such a successful relationship that's been in place for almost 30 years, and it's bringing it to the next level and formalizing the work that UH and the Army have been doing for many, many years in the world of natural resources.
The Army says that the agreement serves as a model for protecting the environment while supporting students and building a stronger Army. Well, a Navy lieutenant commander has pleaded guilty to a 2024 murder of his wife. Lieutenant Commander Christopher Olson was stationed in Japan when he killed his wife, Jessie.
Earlier this month, Olson pleaded guilty to unpremeditated murder. Jessie's family members say while this isn't the result they wanted from the trial, they're glad their loved one was able to get at least some kind of justice.
We were not in agreement with the plea deal to begin with. We are happy that he is being held accountable at least. I took it with a grain of salt, honestly, because his actions spoke louder than his words.
A Navy spokesperson says Olson paid over $10,000 in restitution to the victim's family for funeral expenses.
He was sentenced to 23 years in confinement, has been dismissed from the Navy, and forfeits all pay and allowances.
Looking at your military good news, a 99-year-old woman who worked at a USO building in World War II is sharing her memories of serving our service members. The African American Military History Museum in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, first served as the original USO building for African American soldiers training at Camp Shelby during World War II.
Maggie Purdy was working at the USO as part of the GSO, or Girls Service Organization. She and other girls from the area would serve and dance with the servicemen that came in.
She says that the building contains so many of her memories.
When you look over to your right, there was a snack bar. And then you back over that way was the office. And then you go back in the back is the auditorium. And there was a big stage back there. I said I was the girl out on the floor in the spotlight because I won the jitterbug contest that night.
Now, she said all those years ago, she had no idea that she or the USO would become a part of history. She said she wants people to know in 1944, it was a home away from home for black soldiers.
Well, the Tuskegee Airmen are an iconic part of black military history.
Absolutely, and now in the 21st century, several students are carrying on their proud legacy. Jason Dennis has more.
In 1942, 5 cadets completed the Tuskegee Army Air Corps pilot training program, earning their silver wings and becoming the nation's first ever black military pilots. It's been nearly 8 decades since pilots have trained at Tuskegee University, but now the first 21st century pilots of Tuskegee University have earned their wings.
It's exciting. It's an honor. This institution, this university, has a rich legacy in producing African-American pilots, and they had the ability to continue that legacy and that history, and also to also include women in the training population.
Cabria Parker is the first Tuskegee Airwoman. She decided she wanted to become a pilot when she first visited Tuskegee in 2017.
I went over to the Tuskegee Airmen Museum, actually over there, and I was just interested in flying ever since then.
A school day doesn't feel like work for aviation science student Isaiah Hand.
With aviation science, it gives me pleasure from the start of the day to the end of the day, from the work, and then the flying part it doesn't feel like work. It feels like I'm enjoying myself. It feels leisure, although I am putting in work and putting in a lot of extra time.
Tuskegee Aviation Science Director Titus Sanders says it's passion that drives these students.
They want to be here, they want to be at Tuskegee, and they want to fly, and they want to share their excitement and joy with others.
And the sky isn't the limit for these new pilots, it's just the beginning.
It doesn't get more significant than this. This is where the Tuskegee Airmen trained. This is where their history is. This is where their legacy is.
Sanders says the program had 19 students when it was launched just last year, now with nearly 50. He hopes in the next 2 years that number will double. For Military Matters, I'm Jason Dennis.
Here's your first alert forecast with meteorologist Michael Amankwa.
And the last look at your PT forecast, temperatures are still in the mid to upper 60s and a few lower 70s across the area, but specifically for Fort Sill, upper 60s and then getting up to around the mid 70s as you go to around 9 a.m. this morning. And then as we take a look at what we can expect going into hold on a second. I'm going to take a look at the desk right now. As you go into your day for today, we will have partly cloudy skies, and we will continue to have mostly partly cloudy to partly cloudy skies as we go towards the end of today, and we'll continue to have about 20% chance of an isolated shower or storm, mainly in our northern counties as we go throughout much of today. And then we'll be expecting a cool front coming in by your Thursday, but models having it stall out just north of our area as we go throughout much of your Thursday. Rain chances start increasing going into your Friday, and as you go into your weekend, maybe about a 20 to 30% chance of scattered activity for most of the day, and that will continue to be the case going into next week. Now, as we look at our forecast for today, a high of 95. We can't rule out an isolated shower or storm. Winds out of the south at 5 to 15 miles per hour. Going into the mid to upper 60s for tonight, 67 for Lawton, and partly cloudy and mild. And then as we go into tomorrow, a high of 89 degrees. Scattered showers and thunderstorms mainly during the latter part of the day. Looking at your 7-day forecast, we continue to have upper 60s and lower 70s for your lows. And then as you go into your Friday and your Saturday, upper 80s are possible with that front stalled out in the region, and we'll continue to have upper 80s and 90s heading to the weekend.
Well, thanks for watching. Good morning, Fort Sill.